Another Ludum Dare has come and gone, with Ludum Dare 49 having taken place on the first weekend in October. The theme for this Ludum Dare was unstable, and if you have no idea what Ludum Dare is, here's the short version. Ludum Dare is a game dev competition where once a theme is released, participants get either 48 or 72 hours to make a game from scratch, incorporating that theme however they want. I did the more strict compo, which meant that I only got 48 hours. I had to work alone and create all the assets and game code during that 40-hour period. Last Ludum Dare I made my game using only HTML and CSS, and I've been enjoying my running theme of unconventional game engines. So for this Ludum Dare, I decided to incorporate my game into the user's physical computer using the file system and GUI overlays as the way you played the game. I didn't have any predetermined ideas or thoughts about what I wanted to use for the programming language coming into this, so initially I wanted to write this all in C#, but after a few minutes of issues getting Visual Studio up and running and not wanting to waste a bunch of trying time to debug, I decided to switch to my tried and true Java programming language. I wanted the game to still have some UI and graphical elements, but I didn't want to have the standard game window and canvas. I wanted the game to feel integrated into your computer and operating system. Luckily, a while back for an unrelated project, I learned that you could use Java Swing to create a full-screen, transparent window that made it seem like there wasn't really a window open and would allow the user to click through it as if it wasn't there, but still allow for things to be rendered on it, giving the effect of almost being on the monitor itself. After getting Swing set up and a small demo of this running, you can see what I mean. Quick disclaimer, the game uses and really abuses the Java Swing platform. One disadvantage of a game jam is that you don't really have a lot of time to learn something new, so you tend to use the things you already know. And let's just say I use Swing in a way that's probably very unideal and should never have been done, but here we are, so sorry about what you're about to see. Anyways, once I got my little demo running, I progressed to learning how to make the game trigger events based upon the files in a given folder. I wanted to make a folder structure to sort of simulate a friend's computer's file system that you were trying to fix. I wanted the elements of the game to trigger based upon the files that you opened, edited, or moved. This would be simulating you fixing said friend's unstable computer. The first step, or minigame I wanted to make, was to simulate a virus that would trigger once you opened a file. For this, I hooked into Java's file watch service, which watches for file creation, deletion, or modification, and allows me to pull those changes to trigger the minigame when you change a file. Once this file change was recognized, I spun up the previous mentioned full-screen transparent game UI and began to create the game. The plan for this game was to have these virus creation things I made roam around the screen to folders and start infecting them. After a short while, the folder would change its image to show it's infected and the virus would move on to the next folder. You, as a player, would move around the screen to infected folders and hold the spacebar to uninfect a folder. Also on the screen were two power-ups to aid in the player. One would freeze all the viruses in place for a short while the other would cancel the progress of current infections. Between these power-ups, the player shortened uninfected duration and quicker speed. The player had all the tools needed to keep up with the viruses while being outnumbered, and work towards the goal of having more than half the folders not infected when time runs out. Beating the game would also reveal the so-called win screen that included the password that played into the next part of the overall game. When the program is first launched, I picked one of two hard-coded images, then zipped them up into a password-protected zip file. The password the user gets from beating the virus minigame will allow them to unzip and view the image. The zip folder and image are the second task of the game. Once the zip file is extracted, the player views the image and then must replace the contents of the favorite animal file with the animal that is showed in the pixelated image. Again, knowing when this task is complete comes down to the file watch service from before, and allows me to know when a file's contents are changed, and thus when to check for the task being completed. For the third task, I wanted to make a fully in-file explorer puzzle. It ended up being nothing complex or difficult, just merely sorting the files into folders they associate with to clean up the file system. Once again, I used the file watch service to get notified when the files are moved and check the folder contents against a key of expected files to determine when they were sorted correctly. For the final game, I decided to go back to the UI approach from the virus minigame and make a game that simulated defragging a hard drive. For this, I utilized JLabels to make a collection areas, and then JLabels again to create the shapes that you would drag into the said collection areas. This is all fine and all, but it's not all that difficult or fun. So to spice it up, I made the fragments have varying sizes, and I made the collection areas text and text color be randomized so that not only would they move around randomly, but you'd also have to pay attention to the actual word instead of just looking at the color to make that a bit tougher. So this is all fine and dandy though, but I'm still missing something to give it that last bit of challenge, but also fun. That's when I remembered this fun desktop thing inspired by the Untitled Goose game, where the goose character occasionally causes distractions on your desktop. One of those distractions is it chases after your cursor and tries to steal away from you. I always thought that was really funny and decided why not throw that into my game because I'm the boss and things don't have to make sense here. After cutting him up and adding the additional robot logic to make your cursor move when he steals it, I now have the defragging minigame complete. You need to make 100 matches in 3 minutes to beat the game. With that complete, that marked the end of the 48-hour time period I was given, and thus it was time for me to submit my game. Overall, I thought the idea of the game was neat, but I wasn't overly happy with how the actual game contents turned out. The difficulty of the minigames was not the best, which was a common complaint from people playing the game, but I also thought the game was a tad bit short and just didn't feel right to me overall. I don't know, maybe I was just hard on myself as I thought for sure this game wasn't going to score well. Fortunately though, I was proven wrong, as overall this game scored better than any of my previous 13 Ludum Dare games had, reaching to 101st overall, so close to breaking the top 100. On top of that, I got 18th in innovation, just one place worse than my Ludum Dare 48 game. So I guess you could say this game did turn out alright, and with that, that's all I have for you guys today. Hopefully you've enjoyed this video. Let me know in the comments below if you have any suggestions for an unconventional game engine, and I'll catch you guys all next time. Peace out.